So here's to the Christening of the Black Race. This is brought to you by Not a Coincidence. Um, you can like, follow, share, comment on all the social medias: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Not a Coincidence. So this is gonna be the first of many presentations to come. I'm gonna choose a lot of different topics. So let's get into this. So heathen and the transatlantic slave trade. What does the word heathen have to do with the transatlantic slave trade and Christianity? People in nations who were unaware or did not participate in the Abrahamic religions were called heathen and could be enslaved because they were not brothers of the faith. Africans and Native Americans were called heathens, pagans, and uncivilized throughout history. International laws such as Doctrine of Discovery use the words heathen, pagan to justify taking land and brutally enslaving the people who did not know the Bible. So yeah, this picture is called Our Foreign Missions, an embarrassment of riches for the heathen. Right, so everything we got, we're gonna put we got the sources in the bottom, right? So you can check it. This is not just us making this up. Right, so this picture, the summary of this picture is illustration showing missionaries from various religions appealing to an African man sitting on the throne. So we understand what that is. They're calling them heathen, right? And we have different ideologies appealing to this man because basically whatever the king was, the tribe would follow. Let's go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. What is a heathen? An adjective, or relating to the people or nations that do not acknowledge the God of the Bible. Pretty straightforward. So heathens are pagan, strange, uncivilized. Noun, an unconverted member of a people or nation who does not acknowledge the God of the Bible. Pretty straightforward. Go to King James Dictionary, right? Well, skip down to the second line. A pagan, a Gentile, one who worships idols or is unacquainted with the true God in the scriptures. The word seems to comprehend all nations except the Jews or Israelites, as they were all strangers to the true religion and all addicted to idolatry. The word may now be applied perhaps to all nations except to Christians and Mohammedans. So here we go. We see Jews, Christians, and Muslims all on the same page, right? We're believers and y'all are not. That's Okay, let's see what the Holy Bible, 1611 King James Version, has to say. Leviticus chapter 25, verses 44 to 46. Right, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It talks in that old, hard to understand English, but here we go. 44, verse 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, well, bondmen and bondmaids are slaves. It goes on to say, which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen. And now we know the heathen are people who do not believe in the God of the Bible or the Abrahamic religion. Further down it says, they shall be your possession, and you can inherit. And ye shall take them as inheritance for your children. Sounds like chattel slavery to me. This is. Let's see what the King James says about bondmen, because I know some people are like, oh, bondman doesn't believe that. It doesn't mean slave. Well, yes, it does. Um, a man slave or one bound to wages. Sounds like a slave to me. Bondmaid, a female slave or one bound to wages. Like I said, this is from the King James Dictionary. Let's see what Psalms chapter 2, verses 8 to 10 has to say. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thy inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Well, that's pretty straightforward. God's telling you, ask me, I'll give you the people who don't believe in me and the land. You can have it all. Right? Verse 9, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's wheel. So when you hear people saying, oh, the Bible does encourage slavery and it does support it, and that's why you see all these arguments of people justifying it, because it does. It definitely. So this is the Great Commission. So this is what Jesus was telling everybody to do. Mark 16:15. And he said unto them, Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Not some of the world, all of the world, and every creature, right? So go out there and push this. So this is, you got to understand these people's ideology, where they getting this from. He that believeth, so verse 16, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. Well, slavery sounds like a damn situation to be in, I'll tell you that. So yeah, we see where they're getting these ideas from and why they justifying it. Well, because the Bible tells them. Any point in time, you can pause and read the rest of whatever's on there. All right, so this is the age of discovery, gold, God, and glory. So 1400 to 1750. So this is what these people were really pushing. This you know, God says we have to go out and search the world, find other Christians. If they're not Christian, make them Christians to keep this thing going, take their land and all that. So again, gold refers to the search for material gain through acquiring and selling Asian spices, African slaves, American metals, and other resources. So this is the definition of the age of discovery, right? This is what they was doing. So, right? So God refers to the militant crusade, and crusading is going out and trying to take people's land in the name of God, right? And missionary traditions of Christianity characterized in part by rivalry with Islam and hatred of non-Christian religions. Glory is just basically they want to brag. You know, the bigger kingdom you got, the more land you got, the more you can brag, the more money you got, yada yada. Well, Prince Henry the Navigator, he comes out of Portugal. He's really the one credited for the beginning of the age of discovery and the slave trade. He was the one. He sent people down to Africa, and they was the first ones to pull people from there and bring them to England. And that's as far as we have documented. I mean, not England, to Europe, and specifically Portugal. Excuse me. Even though Henry's motives for exploring Africa had not been to capture humans, he believed that by taking these people out of heathen Africa and away from the Muslims, he was rescuing their souls. Like they always think they know what's best for us, which otherwise would be lost, which would have been lost. Friars of the Order of Christ immediately introduced the slaves to Christian religion. So Henry observed that Negroes tend to turn to Christianity more often than the Berbers. The Berbers are people from North Africa. They're like a mixture of like European, African, Middle Eastern, mostly Muslim, some Christian. Depends on what side of the fence they was on, where they grew up at, who they was around. So the Berbers, he allowed the captives who accepted Christianity a relative amount of freedom and respect compared to those who did not. In other words, they were not required to wear shackles. So, if you conform to our ideology, we know what you're thinking, we'll tend to give you a little break, a little slack in the name of Jesus. But you're still a slave. So this is something else that came out under this whole doctrine of discovery age. This is Papal Romanus Pontifex. In 1452, Pope Nicholas V wrote the following mission: invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens. Saracens are Muslims and pagans. So pagans, we know, heathen, pagans, they're all the same, non-believers. Whatsoever and other enemies of Christ, wheresoever placed, and the kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, dominions, possessions, and all movable and immovable goods whatsoever, held and possessed by them, to reduce their person to perpetual slavery. So this is coming right out of the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church. At this time, this is the only Christianity. You got the Roman Catholic Church and you got the Eastern Orthodox Church. They split up. They had a schism, let's say 1000 something AD, but we're not going to get into that. That's too much. But all of this is Catholicism. All of this is Christianity. So they're going down. They came down in the 1400s. They started seeing these people. Now they're making laws to make it justifiable, and they're saying in the name of God because they didn't do anything unless it was for God. So you clearly see it says invade, search out, capture, subdue, break them down, turn them Christian, take everything they got, make them slaves, right? So here's Christopher Columbus. He comes, 1492, a little bit short after that. But This paper is called Columbus's Ultimate Goal, Jerusalem. So they always say that, Christopher Columbus, he was looking for India. That's why, he named the Indians because he thought he was Indian. Well, he was trying to find another way over to that major highway, what they call in that area. He was trying to get back to the Middle East. He wanted to get God's land. So let's see what Carol Delaney, she's the head of the Department of Culture and Social Anthropology at Stanford University, or at least at this time when she wrote the paper. Columbus wanted to launch a new crusade to take back the Holy Land from the infidels, the Muslims. This desire was not merely to reclaim the land of the Bible and the place where Jesus had walked. It was part of a much larger and widespread apocalyptic scenario in which Columbus and many of his contemporaries believed that scenario derived from the biblical book of Revelation. Claims that the conversion of all people to Christianity and the reconquest of Jerusalem are necessary preconditions for the second coming. Christians is always waiting for Jesus to come back. So he's saying he gotta do his job to set up these things. He gotta go and take this land. Jesus can't come back if we don't got the land. You know what I'm saying? And he thinks that he's trying to get over there to Jerusalem. He makes it to America and calls people Indians because he think he made it to India. But they teach us one thing, but the truth is something else. So here is the Doctrine of Discovery. Another papal bull that came out. It's called the Intercatera. It's about Pope Alexander VI, right out the Catholic Church, May 4, 1493. Right? This bull states that any land not inhabited by Christians was available to be discovered. Right? So if there's people living there, why do they say that? Oh, they discovered it. Well, because it's non-Christian. So let's go. So it says any land not inhabited by Christians was available to be discovered, claimed, and exploited by Christian rulers, and declared that the Catholic faith and the Christian religion be exalted and be everywhere increased and spread. So here we go. They want to keep pushing this religion down everybody's throat. They're taking the land. It's not Christian. So what? So let's see what happened in America in 1823, right? This whole thing that was created in 1493 was used in court in 1893, right? And this was a case about the Europeans. They wanted to take the Indian land. So here in the U.S. Supreme Court in 1823 case, Johnson versus McIntosh, Chief Justice John Marshall's opinion in a unanimous decision held that the principle of discovery gave European nations an absolute right to the New World lands. In essence, American Indians had only a right of occupation, which could be abolished. So you see in court where they say, "Oh, this land was not built off of Christian values or ideas." In court, they're using the Doctrine of Discovery that came out from the Catholic Church, right? In Europe as the right to stand on in a court case in 1823, right? Almost 400 years later. But America wasn't built on this. Yeah, okay, yeah. Uh, so this book is The Religious Instruction of the Negroes in the United States, by Charles Jones. Um, this came out in 1842. It spans from a period from 1620 to 1844. It's broken up in four basic parts, where the first part is a historical sketch of slavery in the colonies in the United States, with the focus of missionary and religious efforts directed towards the African slaves. So there you go. They're talking about in the first part how they are concentrating their efforts on turning these people Christians. The second part is their reasoning why is because they're saying that these people are ignorant of Christianity, they lack education, so on and so forth. So they're setting up these churches and stuff specifically for them. The third reason is the third part describes the obligation of the Christian church to rectify these problems. So they're saying, listen, it's your duty as a Christian to educate. He asserts that the religious education of the African part of the population is a duty no Christian can ignore. So this is just what they feel, and like we touched it earlier with the Great Commission. The Great Commission gotta teach everybody this shit. Oh, excuse me, you gotta teach everybody this stuff. And the final part is poses some strategies for implementing these programs of the religious instruction for the slaves. For Sabbath services as well as weekday plantation meetings, right? So that's the basic of what this book is about. Yes, this is a real book written in 1842, and so here we go. In that same book, pages 6 to 11, one of these programs was came from in 1661, King Charles II. He had a company or organization called the Propagation of the Gospel amongst the heathens. They go that word heathen nations of New England and parts adjacent in America. Right. So they perceived that their work consisted of three great branches: the care and instruction of our people settled in the colonies. So they wanted to make sure that their people was good as far as their religious instructions. Now, treat this: the conversion of Indian savages and the conversion of Negroes. You don't convert somebody who isn't, you only convert people who's not Christian. There is no conversion if they already are. So if they found you like that, they found you Christian, you would be Christian. So I don't know hear about people talking about, oh, they was Christian before they came. That's a whole nother, like I said, we're going to have a bunch more topics to go. So, another, something that came out of this was from Reverend Samuel Thomas, 1720, reported his labors to the society and said that he had taken much pains also in instructing the Negro. It was hard. They wasn't used to this, right? He learned 20 of them to read. Another guy, I'm not gonna butcher his name, Dr. LeHeu, succeeded him in 1706. He instructed and baptized many Negroes and Indian slaves. His communication in 1714 arose to 70 English and 8 Negroes. And then further on, we got Reverend Mr. Pownall, 1722. He reported in his parish 470 freeborn and above 700 slaves, some of which understand the English tongue, but very few know anything of God or religion. So you see, this is 1722. They're still transporting people directly from the continent, bringing people from. They have no idea what this thing is. They can't. They don't. They have to teach them. They have to instruct them. So, and this happened through slavery. This wasn't a nice conversion. This was conversion by the wit. Okay. Also in that book, we get Bishop Edmund Gibson. So he writes a letter to the English plantations, exhorting them to encourage and promote the instruction of their Negroes in the Christian faith, because they're like, yo, guys, we got to do it. So the argument above is the conversion of slaves changes their slave status, property. So they go from property to a person, Christian, because they're Christian. Christians can't enslave Christians at this time. Well, they make a fix for that. To which it may be very truly replied that Christianity and the embracing of the gospel does not make the least alteration in civil property or in any of the duties which belong to civil relations, but in all these aspects it continues persons just in the same state as it was found. So they're saying, listen, they found you like this, even though they converted you. That's what you are. They found you as a slave, so you can continue to be the slave. The freedom which Christianity gives is a freedom from the bondage of sin and Satan, and from the dominion of men's lust and passion, and inordinate desire. But as to their outward condition, their physical condition, whatever that was before, whether bond or free, their being baptized and becoming Christians makes no manner of change in it. So then he refers to the Bible. He says, as to St. Paul has expressly told us in 1 Corinthians 7:20, where he is speaking directly to this point, let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. In the 24th verse, let every man wherein he is called, therein abide with God. There goes the justification. And they always refer back to what? The Bible. We can do it because what? God said so. God said so. We can enslave them, we can turn them Christian, and them being Christian no longer makes them it no longer change their status. No, it doesn't change it. We found them like this, we can keep them like this. They was heathens, they were savages. We're going to keep them just like that. Oh, okay. Also in that book on page 28, 29, we got Bishop George Burkley, right? From a proposal established to the college in Bermuda, first published in 1725. This is his remarks. To this may be imputed the small care that hath been taken to convert the Negroes of our plantations, who to the infamy of England and scandal of the world continue, heathen under Christian masters and in Christian countries. Right? So what is he saying? He's saying there's been a lot of care taken, but the scandal is that these Christian masters are not um they're not teaching the heathen this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a shame they're not fulfilling their duties as Christians, which would never be if our planters were rightly instructed and made sensible that they disappointed their own baptism by denying it to those who belong to them. So you're not fulfilling your duties as a Christian because you're denying the slaves Christianity, right? And it goes further on to say that it would be of advantage to affairs to have slaves who should obey in all things their masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart as fearing God. Galatians 3:22. Again, referring back to the Bible. These are letters written over there from England, from Europe to the Americas, the colonies, the Caribbean, and it's all saying the same thing. The gospel of liberty consists with temporal servitude, and that their slaves would only become better slaves by being Christian. So look, if you know what they're thinking, you know, get them to believe this stuff. The Bible tells them, listen, obey your masters. This is what they're using. So okay, out the same book, Reverend Samuel Davies, in a letter addressed to a friend and member of the society in London for promoting Christian knowledge among the poor in 1755, the poor neglected Negroes who are so far from having money to purchase books that they themselves are the properties of others, who were originally African savages. There was that word savage, so without God, and never heard of the name of Jesus or his gospel until they arrived at the land of their slavery in America. Listen, like, it's just so straight out. Like, listen, your ancestors were not Christian. You only became Christian because of slavery. This is what these people are saying. It's in black and white. This is just what it is. Accept it. So to keep going on with this shit, like, excuse me, to keep going on with this is just, keeping that whole lie going, keeping that whole institution of slavery. They made you a Christian so you'd be a better slave. So what are you today? So this is a song called "The Heathen's Request." It was written in 1855. It was created by Heathen's Women's Friends, and it was made in Boston, Massachusetts. So again, let's see how they was viewing it, looking at it. It says, "Your traders came to us across the wide water, but old 'twas with the greed for gold." Remember, I told you they came for money. They they send to our people the gospel of Jesus that's blessing the nations all over the earth. Old world in its scorn has given us only the brand of the serf and lashes of the slave, filled all their ships with our sons and our daughters. So they're talking from the heathen's perspective. You see in the picture it says this is Africa. If you go look at the whole song, they got Africa, China, they got I think Native Americans too, basically singing it from their standpoint of the heathen's request. So they're talking how they got the gospel. They specifically say they came to our people with the gospel of Jesus that blesses all nations over the earth. But they came looking for gold. So this is a clipping from a newspaper. Got it from the Library of Congress, Africa's Woman's Home Journal. Um, it says a woman's missionary to the wilds of Africa. So they're talking about these missionaries, how they would go over there and they're trying to teach these people the Christianity and the Christian way, try to make them better people. I don't know why they think that they know what's best for us. But this is a little part out of the article. It says, My special works, as far as I can know, and as far as I can now define it, will be that of housekeeper, thus trying to teach to the natives by example what home life should be. In a recent address, Reverend A. McLean, Secretary of the Foreign Christian Missionary Society, who has just returned from a trip to the missionary station, said, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, factors in uplifting the heathens, again, so they're going there teaching Christianity, trying to teach them how to be a good Christian woman, right? Because they're not Christians, right? So heathens is the Christian home as exemplified by the missionary woman. Can we not in Africa have such an influence? So they're asking the question, can they have their influence of Christianity in Africa among the women and teach them how to be good housewives and all this other stuff like they haven't been raising nations since the beginning of time? And this is the home journal today. And of course, you see Paula Dean on the cover. And she had them racist remarks, but it says, what does it say about this magazine? Ladies Home Journal is an American magazine published by the Meredith Corporation. It was first published in February 16th, 1883, and eventually became one of the leading women magazine of the 20th century in the United States. I guess it would, because these obviously white women buying this magazine, and they're talking about stuff about trying to teach the heathen stuff. From 1891, it was published in Philadelphia by Curtis Publishing Company. In 1903, it was the first American magazine to reach 1 million subscribers. So you got a magazine like this reaching 1 million subscribers with those type of um. So with all that, if you are a black Christian, you have a real short memory. You know what I'm saying? Kind of ran through it. I hope you can go back and um, review some of the stuff I didn't read, check out the sources, so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. This is the evidence. You know what I'm saying? This is just a real small portion. I can go in for so much longer on this topic. But I just want to give you a perspective, the Bible perspective on what a heathen is, and then how they turned around and used that word to justify the treatment of the Africans and the Native Americans, through court, through laws enacted through the church, and just by, they had to get the people to agree with it. If you say God did it, who's going to question that? So hopefully y'all like, share, comment. Let me know what you thought. If I got something wrong, let me know. Um, that's it. Thank you.